and Shabbat Shalom. I'm Eileen Glogower, and it's my privilege and my honor to be the president of our sisterhood. Today, as I see my sisters on Sisterhood Shabbat daven and explore and enrich the meaning of our Torah, I realize that they daven with spirit and kavanah. Shabbat is one of the gifts given to the Jewish people. And as we light our candles on Shabbat night, I feel that spiritual glow descend into our homes. It's a ritual that's practiced throughout the whole world. It's not just a celebration of inspiration, and it's not just a delight in our time off. Shabbat is more than just a day off. It's a sanctuary, a joy, and a look into that peaceful world that's yet to come. Shabbat is our chance to reaffirm our dedication to God. And it's also a chance to enjoy the company of our extended family in shul. On Shabbat, as opposed to the work week, we choose with whom we will spend our time. Shabbat is the centerpiece of Jewish life. And like Shabbat, sisterhood is central to our shul. It's both enjoyable and effective in showcasing the warmth of Sharazedek and our family. On Shabbat, with the help of sisterhood, I surround myself with people I love and people who love me. Today, women can join a wide variety of groups to strengthen their Judaic skills. We have book clubs and study groups. We have Hadassah, National Council, and of course, sisterhood. In sisterhood, you can make a connection with other women, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, and culturally, right inside our own shul. It is like belonging to an extended family. We are a group of Jewish women in a Jewish environment. If each of us were to encourage one woman to join sisterhood, not only would we broaden our scope of friends, but we would introduce that woman to the largest group of conservative women in the world, Women's League for Conservative Judaism. I'm so thankful that we each bring our own skills to our group. When we combine our talents and our ideas, we make better volunteers and better individuals. And of course, the end result is a wonderful group of women and a stronger sisterhood. The benefits of sisterhood help to make our synagogue even stronger. In sisterhood, we think about the friendships that grow amongst us and the spirituality that grows within us. Bechukotai, our parsha for this week, tells us to follow God's commandments and he will grant peace to the land. Well, peace is not just an absence of war, but it's an attitude of feeling good. In sisterhood, we work toward improvement. We have a passion to build a great community of Jewish women. We're happy for the fortune of others, the good fortune of others. And we're here to help every woman grow in her commitment to God, to the Torah, to the Jewish people, and to the state of Israel. We want to support each sisterhood member as she strives in her search for Jewish meaning. As you have seen today on Sisterhood Shabbat, we strive to help our members partner with God, not just admire God. When God first gave us the commandments, he didn't do it on paper and pen. He carved them into stone. And I believe that our Torah learning should be everlasting, like words that are hewn out of stone, not like letters on ink and paper. Well, that reminds me of a story. Mrs. Katz had her arms full when she came into her 4th grade class. She was ready to teach the Torah portion of the day. And with her, she had brought all kinds of items that she knew would help her get her point across. The first thing that Mrs. Katz did when she walked into the room was go up to the whiteboard and write the word, Bechukotai, and then she underlined it. Girls, she said, who can tell me what that means? Well, there was a little buzz in the room, and then somebody raised her hand and it said, I think that what it means is it's telling us that we should follow God's laws and that they should be like carved inside of us. Well, Mrs. Katz was pretty pleased with that, and then she said, so what does that mean? 20 girls stared blankly at Mrs. Katz. This was obviously the time for a lesson. Well, with a smile on her face, Mrs. Katz took out all those little things that she had brought with her, a chisel, a hammer, a knife, a quill pen, a feather quill pen, and a little pot of ink and a piece of parchment. And then she asked for 2 volunteers. Debbie and Naomi were chosen, and Debbie was told to carve her name into the stone. Well, Mrs. Katz took a vise that she had brought, put it on the table, and Debbie put her piece of sandstone into the vise. And then she picked up a piece of chalk and carefully wrote her name on the sandstone. That was going to be her guide while she did her carving. She took her hammer and her chisel, and she began to follow the little letters that she had written. Debbie, on the other hand, was told to take the feather quill pen and write her name with a little pot of ink on a piece of parchment. And they fixed that parchment onto a drawing board, so it too should be stable for her to use. About 5 minutes had passed, and the other girls in the class were sort of giggling and talking among themselves. And finally, Mrs. Katz went over and held up both things. On Debbie's stone, you could see it wasn't exactly perfect. It had sort of jagged edges, but she had really carved her name into that stone. Naomi had written her name on the parchment, just as she was told, but there were a few little blotches of ink. She wasn't as good with that quill pen. But Naomi knew what to do. She took that little knife that Mrs. Katz had laid down, and she scratched away the little blotches of ink, and they disappeared as though they were never even there. Girls, said Mrs. Katz, can you tell me what the difference is between these two? Well, Shamie raised her hand and she said, Debbie had really carved her name into that stone, and now it's going to be there forever. But Naomi's wasn't quite the same as Debbie's. She put her name on the parchment, but we know that that ink's not going to last because we saw her get rid of it right away. Mrs. Katz was pretty pleased. She said, girls, what do you think the message is that God's trying to tell us? Once again, everyone was quiet. So Mrs. Katz chimed in, and she told them that God wants the Torah and the mitzvot carved into us, just like Debbie had carved her name. And that those learnings should forever be such a part of us that they can never be erased. Mrs. Katz just smiled. I'm thankful for all of you who have sculpted and carved love and meaning into our sisterhood. You've molded our organization into the best. When you carve something, nothing is lost. You create something. You leave an indelible mark, just like when you give to sisterhood. You gain. Our sisterhood etches in stone its mark on our synagogue. By joining sisterhood, not only do you leave a mark on our shul, but sisterhood will leave a mark on you. You'll gain friendships, community, learning, and people that you'll welcome and value. These are the people that we share our successes with and even our challenges. When our sisters get together, we go from kvetching to kvelling, from strength to strength. Remember, a healthy sisterhood supports congregational well-being. May we learn from each other patience, understanding, and the true meaning of sisterhood. May you find the strength to face tomorrow in the love that surrounds you today. Shabbat Shalom.